podcast listeners, if you hear my voice right now, I need you to do something for me. I want you to take out your phone or on your computer, go to Apple Podcasts, search for Ask Your Oldhead podcast. You'll see my logo, my little picture, my little image there. Find the show. Please rate and write a review. It's a small thing, but it helps others find this work and find what I'm doing here. And it really, really matters, as small as that may seem. So if you can please do that before we get into the show, I would much appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Let's get into it. Peace. Peace. I'm Majestic.
My brother, Justice Rajee.
All right. So, as this is the first official, public recording since the glorious, fantastic, immersive, transcendent victory of the New York Knicks over the San Antonio Spurs, ending the tyranny of the small markets, establishing a sense of pride, a joy. Remember like I said, only, they'll come to joy. Only the Knicks can bring you joy, bring you love like that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, at least I'm gonna say it, everybody's mayor delivered probably the best speech anybody's ever given at a sports speech.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The best sports speech by a country mile. No, absolutely.
Yeah. The various stories, the teamwork, the work ethic, you know what I'm saying? The grit, the determination, you know what I'm saying? And as I stated before, when we recorded, before preceding this, whatever one thinks of the competition in the East, we was beating the hell out of them. So, this wasn't no like, people gonna start doing that. Well, if this was that, the rice was beans, we'd all eat chickens. You know what I'm saying? Like, get it together here. The New York Knicks, after a long time of painful set of experiences, are now the NBA champions. It's the summer of Knicks. You know what I'm saying? I had to I debated traveling to go to the parade, and I'm just going to muse a little bit here before I pass the mic, just so everybody gets ready for this, because this, it's hard fought. You know what I'm saying? Long time coming. You know what I mean? And I was like, I ain't really a parade dude.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, if I'm gonna go to a parade, like I need to go to, like, I don't have no, I know people. Well, I guess I could have been like, hey, I'm gonna come to New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, it'd been like a lot. It'd been like over $1,000 to go stand on the corner and be like, there they go. And then they would keep going. So I decided, it would, be a better decision just stay here, watch the live stream. I may or may not have purchased some t-shirts, some items, to commemorate, you know what I'm saying, the joyous moment this is. But I'll say that to say, in all sincerity, watching the Knicks, and I was trying, I try to explain, especially being from New Jersey. The one thing that fascinates me about all these things is the way people, like, in their mind, like, lines and states are like imaginary concepts on paper. Like, it's not like, you'd be like, but you live in New Jersey, you can't like the Knicks. I'm like, they're right there. Like, what you mean I can't like the Knicks? Right. Kind of foolish. Like, what's wrong with y'all? Or you from here? But I explain to people, like, when you're young and you're watching the sports, you got to pick squads. You know what I mean? And some people go, go Sixers. Some people go, go
north,
Jets.
Yeah.
Go north, you go south. Especially being in Trenton, where literally I started out in life with all like 14 stations of the Philadelphia area broadcast and the New York area broadcast, the PBS from Philadelphia, the New Jersey State public broadcasting channel, right? So that meant sometimes you could flip back and forth. You could get double Sesame Street or something, you know what I'm saying? Or slightly off, and shout out to the New Jersey network. And you just got to pick. And, you hopefully you make good decisions. You pick the right team. I picked the Knicks. I picked the Giants. You know what I'm saying? I went to New York. I was kind of agnostic on the basketball, on the baseball. So I'm just like, go Phillies if it's working out. You know what I'm saying? But if not, also, you know what I'm saying? Hockey again is sort of like, one love to the Flyers. I guess I would say I don't have any affinity for the New York hockey teams at all. Lightweight, Jersey Devils, Martin Brodeur, you know what I'm saying? Bring home the cup and all that. But there's no. But the Knicks, once you pick a team in sports, it's not just like the team. It's like it's watching games, especially back when we were younger, where it's like that. I think about it, I was like, well, I didn't have like the sports networks of today and of even the last 30 years were not the same in the 80s and the 90s. So you watch games on Sunday. You watch games maybe when TNT came around Thursday nights. If you had cable on, when the cable was on, we was watching games. When the cable was off, we was not watching games.
Wasn't watching games. Watching Channel 17.
Channel 17 and whoever.
Watching the Sixers play the Kings.
Right, the Sixers play the Kings. Sixers play the Blazers. This is first actually how I got introduced to the Blazers is watching the Sixers play road games at like 5:00 p.m. You know what I'm saying, or whatever crazy time they seem to be coming on. And you get to, though, it turns into, you start rooting for the players, the players from when you really started watching, and you get attached to the, the joy of it. You know what I mean? The blemish and I ain't trying to be, I'll be trying to be a reformed hater. You know what I'm saying? In my, take Jordan down a peg. I'm saying though, like, a couple things bounced a different way. Maybe it's not 3 feet.
Yeah.
All that notwithstanding, you know what I mean? It is actually, it's just fun. It's fun when your team wins. Like, bar none everything else. Like, even if it could have been 5, hyenas out there instead of the, Jalen Brunson did the crew. If them 5 hyenas won, I'd be, equally as excited. Like, yeah, team hyenas, the hyenas, like from the Lion King. Like we was with Scar, and so I'd be like, we did it. It was our guys. Yeah, it's just, it's been fun to watch also, like, other people being mixed bags, despite the amount of people I found who was rooting for the Spurs, which I don't know how I feel about that. You know what I'm saying? I'm still processing that. Well, I'm like, what we doing here, man? Like, what we doing, America?
We gotta have this conversation though, Justin. I know you don't want to hear this. And first of all, y'all won, so the victors go to spoils. So we don't have that conversation. There's no a more itinerant group of fans who, up until this point, had not won a championship in 50 years in the New York Knicks fans. A group of motherfuckers who every year act like you have to pay a super level of attention. Now, this is true. There's a conversation of, is this New York, or is this the fact that we now have social media, so we get exposed to stuff, and now we have 24 hours of ESPN, right? Which 24 hours of ESPN makes you think that there are 3 teams in the NBA: the Boston Celtics, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the New York Knicks. Those are the 3 teams exist. Every motherfuckers win championships, no one cares. People have good players, no one cares, because those 3 teams.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, there's also the reality that if you are growing up, especially if you grew up on the East Coast, anywhere between Maine and Florida, and probably a little further out, I'll push it out to Ohio now, there's always somebody around who likes the Knicks. They usually have to be from New York City, which means they wear umpteenth amount of paraphernalia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I think the Spurs thing, and I was processing it. The Spurs had this underdog thing, which is very interesting because they beat the champions, but then they were people perceived them as underdog, but kind of not. Then the Knicks were running through the East. And then this is where I do think this whole superstar thing in America, even though we act like it doesn't, it matters. Because obviously Jalen Brunson became, he's always been an amazing player. He became the centerpiece of a championship team. I think generally speaking, everyone's looking for this idea of this person, which is why the last couple years of the NBA has been so confounding. Because every year you're bouncing around, like is Jokic the next person? Is SGA the next person? Is Giannis the next person? And it's actually a level of extreme parity that you keep getting all these people that you haven't had a repeat champion in what, 10 years now?
Yeah, yeah. Eight straight different somebody else winning the title.
Eight straight different teams, right?
And I don't think any back to backs though. No one in the finals was in the finals the year before.
No. I mean, it's an amazing form of parity, right? And
except even Boston, because there was a gap between Boston. Because what's his name beat yeah.
So I think the Wembanyama thing that was, I think, partly partly created, right? It's partly the whole like, here's a 7'6" alien who goes and is with the monks, and you know, like except unless us just saying, hey, this is his second year in second or third year in the NBA. And
well, anecdotally, he has pierced the I don't really watch basketball, but I heard about this dude Wembanyama. Like he's pierced that bubble, however that works. So there were people who were like, "Oh, Wembanyama's in the fight. This you heard about this guy? He's like 7'7". Like the people who don't really watch basketball at all or don't necessarily track, but they're like, "Yeah, I'm rooting for the Wembanyama guy. I want that guy to win." You know what I'm saying? Like, which again, betraying your country. You know what I'm saying? It's America, Jack. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. You and my prop.
It's America, Jack.
I'm with him. He can talk about he don't like Wembanyama, because once he get off on a bad foot with a person, takes him 15 years to be okay with player again. He just started being okay with LeBron because of Paul Silas back in 2004 or some shit. But like, he said to me, like, yeah, Wembanyama lost twice to America. I said, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, he lost in the Olympics and lost to the Knicks. I said, what the fuck? You didn't like the Knicks. What are you talking about? You've never mentioned the New York Knicks in any positive regard ever in your life. What are you talking about?
We're America's team now. We are America's team. Everybody believes in the Knicks. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, now please explain. Because I want to, because I think I'm thinking about this in basketball, and you can say baseball and football. So I want to tell me.
Here's the pathway. Here's the pathway of the teams, again, of the super major market teams. Like, it's not like the Lakers obviously are is the default team that like the Cowboys in football, where like people be from anywhere and be like, I like the Lakers. Be like, why you like the Lakers? You ain't you just
that's fair.
You know what I'm saying? So, and being at the Cowboys, they created this marketing concept. Started calling themselves America's team, which is genius. I got to give it to them, but I don't like them. The Bulls, oddly enough, I mean, besides having, like I said, pound for pound, greatest basketball player in planet Earth's history, for an extended run, and became, this centerpiece of sport, and as much for the casual people, as much the spectacle as Michael Jordan. But even within that, it then sort of, even though just for the record, since then, Chicago, not much to write home about in terms of productivity, but it's also
they had the D Rose. I mean, they had the D Rose era that got cut a little. Got cut.
Well, I mean, shout out to D Rose. The injuries in his career. Also, LeBron went took his MVP back and said that was supposed to be my MVP. They gave it to you because they ain't like me, but that's all right. You know what I mean? Respect the love. But shout out to D Rose and Yannick, Noah.
Joakim Noah.
Joakim Noah, yeah. Yeoman's effort, fight, determination, grit. That's Thibodeau team too, wasn't it? That was Thibodeau. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Tom Thibodeau.
He should. They should definitely send him. Somebody should send him something. Come on, man.
He built like I said, he gets respect because he helped to read that, with the whole squad, Leon Rose, Warriors, everybody, like rebuilding the culture of the team around ethos to be successful, which I think is the most important thing in this moment. And so again, the potential, at least the potential, I'll say the potential to be America's team is, you would say our best player is a player by stature relative to what league he's in, people, you doubt him, the underdog, and he's too small, he can't do it. We got several mercurial characters who are endearing and fun to watch. And I think the subtext even of the finals and of the like, we don't have a player on the team that you look at as like otherworldly good at basketball. But we have, again, a ethos, a team, a sense of teamwork. You know what I mean? This thing they cite when Hart misses gets the 2 bad plays in game 4, and he's on the ground, he's doing like this, and then the team are going, nah, man, we good. Like, you know what I mean? Like that being the ethos, it's like we all in this together. You know what I mean? There's the rally cry against fascism in America. You know what I'm saying? That is, sort of the operational politics of New York at the moment, which is a very odd thing to have the largest city in the country and the biggest metropolis and the home to unfathomed exorbitant wealth. Sometimes simultaneously also being like, well, it's a high level of active political resistance, but also structural competency that is being demonstrated, at a high level, however that transitions into, the place of sport, because sport is always part of politics and vice versa. There's a earned respect that I believe that I think is there, that depending on especially how the next year and a half goes, where the Knicks could grab hold of a certain level of like, man, we like those guys. Go USA. They're all of our team. And maybe, you at least slice a couple fans that, out here, free radicals. Because now it's gonna be a whole generation of people, as far as they know, the Knicks just won the title. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, all generations who are like, yeah, we ain't won, we won 3 years before I was born. We was born. I heard about, how good Clyde Frazier and Earl Monroe, who, for the record, it should be documented, my father, they drove out to Winston-Salem to see Earl Monroe. Like, you know what I mean? Just because the world, they may not remember how good Earl Monroe was.
Black Jesus. Hey, listen.
Like, he's cold.
South Philly's own Black Jesus. And I think people forget sometimes Earl Monroe's from South Philly.
Yeah.
And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when you read his book, he talks about like the best player he had ever seen play was Earl Monroe. Yeah. Like the stuff he did on the court. Again, generations. And I think it's interesting, again, that when you put this kind of dialogue into context. In some ways, it's difficult for New York to be America's team because, to your point, New York is the representation of full excess. Like, we love to see people on the bench who are paying $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a seat. And it's interesting how we fell in love with these interesting set of characters who are all insanely rich, right? We're all like, ooh, look at Spike Lee. Look at Timothy Chalamet. Look at all these guys just hanging out. Is spending exorbitant wealth going underground into a location that they get out and no one has to see them as they go into the night, right? Like, so you have this, and generally when you have that, but also you have the long-standing support that a lot of basketball teams don't have. You have what a lot of people have been willing to like a team that is, the last time they were like super good was 20 years, 25 years ago, right?
Yeah, years ago.
But people have stayed making it a spectacle. It's also interesting, almost like stay down till you come up, because it's almost like it was so much wealth and money and it's New York. So people are going to keep watching the game, even if they're no good.
Yeah.
And then they got good in a unique way for the first time without having a superstar, which is, the Knicks history is replete with, we think we get the guy and then the guy isn't the guy. And then even you get Linsanity, which had its own unique thing, right? Like, so it's really interesting because when I do think you compare it to football, and like the Cowboys are quote unquote America's team, but then you have like the role of you have the Steelers, which kind of America's team in a different way. It's kind of what happens when you lose your economy. and then everyone has to go somewhere because,
Right.
like,
Steelers fans
yeah,
everywhere
but
because
diaspora,
they left. Because you
yeah,
have like 400,000 people who used to be who are descended from
right,
people
and
who
so
left Pittsburgh.
that's different than the marketing that Jerry Jones has created around the machine of, the Cowboys, of the constant drama, which I think the Lakers are verging on, and I don't think it's good for them, but I think they're verging on a cowboy, like, we just always have the conversation,
Right. But we not
even if
actually.
even if they lose in the second round, we're still always talking about, is LeBron going to stay? Is now Luke is the one that's most under pressure. So I think it's fascinating. I think having a mayor like Zoran Mamdani absolutely helped. I mean, the marketing machine that they created around the support for the Knicks from a mayoral perch,
The
unparalleled.
the watch parties. I think people seeing like all over because I think again the other thing about New York, when we talk about this just with cities, there's only so many cities that are like cities in the U.S. New York is like when somebody be like, I was in the suburbs of, you name whatever city, and then I was in the city of that city. And it's like it ain't like being like in, uptown, or being on the east side, or being in Brooklyn, being in East New York, being in Queens. Like all of them parts of New York. New York is like just a whole other animal. And to see like there's a community wide interest and pride and enjoyment, but people actually like, really like, or like, hey, we try to put this up because everybody don't have a TV. Other people get the hot ass apartments and shit. Like we outside, we community, like we're doing community building, we're being, and like people, I think some people, it may have humanized the city in a way for some folks if they've
Yeah,
never
I agree.
understood that. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's the assumptions, which, are always tinted by various things, but also that like there's not real people, living everyday lives, that is not this, the joy in a team is as much as the teams are private entities that are, largely for private, that do have a civic value from a like, this is our team. I'm saying like we're all invested in this and captures the heart of the community. And, even like I said, again, in reference to the speech, hitting that a kid that's, the son of the child of folks from Queens and Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying, being able to play in the largest stage and contribute at the highest level, right in the place where he grew up, you know what I'm saying? And like that sort of connection and the level to which it was clear that the guys that are on the team seem to have an awareness of their value to the community and respect that, like, especially counter to sort of the narrative of like the non-caring professional athlete, also especially the non-caring NBA player, which I think is a bit of a farce, and not that it's not totally untrue, that there definitely are people who didn't care at different points in times, but largely, you know, guys give a damn. You know what I'm saying? And in this particular group, I think it does point to I would say this, I guess, in my last little pitch to the Americans team, opportunity. There's not necessarily, I'm not a big fan of the like Brunson not taking as much pay things. I think that's a tricky, slippery slope. Like everybody should get paid, but they're supposed to get paid. Y'all made these kooky rules. But the thing that their ethos was, we need a certain attitude, a certain disposition, and then that players on this team, understand that you're going to have to do different things to win. And as the concept goes, you can have a bunch of like good players, great players, maybe not super duper players, but by the collection of them, you have like the means, you have the camaraderie and the chemistry to like survive what you got to survive to win at that level of the highest level of sport. So like
Well, the whole is
there's
greater than the sum of its parts, right?
yeah,
I mean, I think with the Knicks, 100%, 120%, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. I do also, when I think about this, think about, 10 to 15 years ago, definitely 15 years ago, and maybe even 10. the idea of how you won in basketball was get 3 of the better players, 3 of the top 10 to 15 players, and put a whole bunch of people around them and go, right? And I think that created an interesting thing around people watching, one, for the spectacle, right? Because it was like, okay, well, Miami has a big 3, and then the Warriors have a big 3, and then they went and got another, but they had a big 4. And then, you had this succession of teams who were winning over and over again because of this, like, this is how you win. And to our point about the parity, the last 7 to 8 teams has one superstar and a really good supporting person.
Yeah,
right? Like so whether
and then like a really strong, like some other guys that are like strong
in what they do. They're really good at what they do. But there's like one superstar. I mean, Boston, I think you could argue, is a little different. Because Tatum's a superstar, but then Brown's a superstar. And then you had other people who had been superstars there who won a championship. But generally speaking, so it shifted from this player thing to, I think, more of a team idea. Now it'll be interesting to see in the next, again, 2 to 3 years, who wins the next championships, and does it reflect like the OKC model, right? Because I mean, OKC it's a great team to watch play basketball if you like OKC. If you don't like OKC, it kind of sucks because you're just like, damn, they just always seem to score. Like, and I don't know these other guys, but they always seem to keep scoring and winning, right? And the only person that kind of broke that space was the Spurs, frankly, from OKC, right? It didn't really look like OKC was going to have any challenge doing this until running into the Spurs. So I think it'll be an interesting thing. Another part that I have been thinking, because again, not including present company excluded, but Knicks fans are very irritating. But then as I sat and thought about the team separate from the hype, I was like, this is actually quite interesting that, like, you take a Jalen Brunson, you take a Mikal Bridges, you take these guys of all different kind of backgrounds, experiences, right? Mikal Bridges is from 58th and Master, from Winfield. Mom went to IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, for those who are listening. Mom went to IUP, had a child with a guy who was playing basketball. She gets a job with Vanguard, of all folks, and anyone interested in Vanguard will come up. And then moves from Philly to Malvern and Great Valley and moves to the exurbs of Philadelphia for education. And so that's how he was a player that was never like a Philly player.
But he's from Philadelphia. So he was outside.
Philly player.
That's right.
Yeah. And then, wins his championship and then gets drafted by the Sixers, which is its own thing that the Sixers just continue that, to your point about the process,
and let him go.
That the process is just filled with all kind of failures. So yeah, there's a Jose Alvarado being from Brooklyn, being from Queens. So you get a whole host of interesting things. And then the idea of Leon Rose and Worldwide West, which juxtaposes James Dolan, right? So you got this weird thing because you got James Dolan, who clearly is like a dark motherfucker. Like, and I don't mean dark like sun-kissed. I mean dark motherfucker. Like, watching people in the MSG. And this will be interesting if everybody acts like James Dolan ain't who James Dolan is now. Because
it is the lodestone on our pathway to being beloved across the country. It's people like, James Dolan. And even like he's almost like the relative that nobody really likes them, but they're at the cookout and they're gonna come out for like 10 minutes and they're gonna go back in the house. And like for them 10 minutes, everybody's like, here you go. All right, man, just get your plate, man. You done talking? All right, man. Thank you for making sure that the barbecue was lit this morning. Like, all right, man, go on, get it.
Like on one level, you bring Trump, you're saying everybody's going. You take it out your way to dump on Mamdani while he's there because he brings up Charles Oakley because you and Charles Oakley got some sort of beef because you evict Charles Oakley out. So, obviously, like any basketball team, there's some real interesting politics behind some of this Nick shit. Like the beef between Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley, or Charles Oakley and everybody else in America. But then you get Leon Rose and Worldwide West. And for those, I'm sure Judge could put some notes up about who Leon Rose is and who Worldwide West is, about being probably one of the most powerful people in sports culture today, definitely basketball culture. And the Knicks actually recruiting him to work not just as the Nike guy in the shadow government, but to actually be about putting together a championship. So, I mean, there's so much actually to take from it once you separate, you know, Stephen A. Smith and James Dolan from this equation, like that you can learn what's actually behind kind of like the thing. And I say this, and I thought about it. There were 3 teams who won big championships recently. Shout out to the Carolina Hurricanes who just won the Stanley Cup. It's always still kind of weird when teams and where it's not cold win a Stanley Cup. I'm trying to get past that in my own mind. I think it's just when you grow up in a place where it's cold and people play hockey.
Yeah, the
It's hard
relationship
to
was all cold places and not now.
yeah. Like now Vegas and Carolina and Florida are all the champions of hockey, and it's just it's a little bit of a cluster of mind fuck. But like you had Arsenal win, which was the only people that may be more itinerant than y'all might be Arsenal fans. Arsenal fans are just like they're the y'all times 10 because it's a global audience. So they get the benefit of having a global audience, you know, have red dust everywhere. And then Arsenal loses to PSG, right? Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League final. So it's interesting to watch 3 major cities win championships. And I don't remember the last time I've seen that in a kind of going right back and forth, like 3 of the global metropolises win championships in their own right, and just watching what that means. Because to your point, it gets rid of the small markets, how like Berlin, you know, Bayern wins the Champions League and Manchester City wins the Premier League and Milwaukee wins the NBA. To your point, small market tyranny, right? Like this is like big cities are back. Right. And again, with all the politics to you said about the bigger thing that sports does, because I will say, especially with Arsenal and the Knicks, both have their own the politics of Arsenal that I think we've discussed around its relationship to the African continent in particular, being a North London team that has South London players, and then the Knicks being this, to your point, scrappy, like the guys, like, you know, to the point where like the guys that win a championship, like a corporate championship, where they don't have any of the really, really, really good players or any other guys that come in and act like you said, like they play in their marketing, but they're not really in marketing.
Like, that's
They
Steven
bought him in.
Sales.
Yeah,
Steve ain't
yeah,
sold
he's over
nothing
at
in
sales.
years.
But when
Steve,
you get a D1 player that just got the sales, right? Like the Knicks are like, no, when 5 guys or 8 guys really just want to play together, they can be good. So I think there's something to take from both of those examples as we think about, to your point, what sports mean in the bigger sets of things.
so you know, we gonna enjoy this moment. I mean, we're not gonna get caught up in the future. Just want to enjoy the moment. You know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, make sure you say their name with respect. You know, NBA champion. You know what I'm saying? Jalen Brunson. You know what I'm saying? NBA champion. You know what I'm saying? Even Cat. You know what I'm saying? Even Cat. Go ahead, Cat. Good for you, man. A lot of New Jersey. Not actually a lot of New Jersey. I think we had said this last time we talked. You know, it was a lot of actually New Jersey and New York area players in the finals. Castle, Champagne, Brunson,
Harper,
Carper. You know what I'm saying?
Towns,
Cat Towns, Alvarado. I think another one of them was also somebody else, doing them deeper bench guys, you know what I'm saying?
But it's also too, I'll say about this whole thing where, back in the day when a guy was from a place, we all knew it and they all had a certain game and we all talked about the game this person has, where like now none of that really exists because basketball has become so commodified and commercialized. Everyone kind of plays the same and does the same moves that some of them watched on N1 or went to an AAU camp. So there's like you can like a team, but often there's nothing kind of really unique about a player, even though they can be really good, but there's nothing like unique about the player, right?
Yeah.
So now it really does have to be the system because the player is going to shoot threes. Like we know what the player is going to
Yeah,
do. The
especially
player is
these
going to
days.
shoot threes and drive and maybe have a mid-range game, depending if Uh, and I will say, Rose quickly. San Antonio, obviously, if they can stay underneath the thing, and they, the coach, I'm sure while he's in Cancun with his family, he's going to be a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas. You know what I mean? I think he's have a fair amount of woulda, coulda, shouldas.
I think, as I told somebody, because people were like, they need to fire the coach. And I was like, hey, man, look, he just, in his first playoff run, he got all the way to the finals. Like, he deserves the opportunity to see if he can improve and like do better. Like, I think that team, as good as they are, their limitations, the things they still need to develop
They
as a team
overachieved. I think
is
I think
still
there's
there.
two sides of the equation. I think one level we go, oh, look how good they are. The other part, to your point, they overachieved. Like
Yeah.
when he moved up the speed of beating SGA super fast. Like this was supposed to go another year or two where he was supposed to be vanquished by Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, right? And Chet was supposed to actually, beat him up. And all those things were supposed to happen again, right? But they didn't.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Right. So you do they just got somewhere really fast. I mean, Aaron Fox, I'm sure somewhere where he's on an island. Also going to have some questions about him because, again, you never get into woulda, coulda, shouldas, but some of that shit, man, if you're thinking very crooked, if you have larceny in your heart, you don't
Look, man,
understand why something should happen.
I think the truest thing about sports is sometimes guys they played as hard as they could and made all the decisions they thought they should. And they wasn't always the right decisions, and it wasn't enough. You know what I mean? It is the thing, actually, I would say, as a Knicks fan and loving and enjoying the idea that like Pat and Starks, who actually work within the organization. Allen Houston too, who's the team president, will like have a shot, will like receive a ring for this. Because the hardest thing I would say for me as a legacy Knicks fan is when folks talk about Pat, and especially the finger roll game. Pat played his goddamn heart out that game.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a quadruple double and a damn near five-double double. And yes, he missed the shot. He had to be the one to take the shot. He took the shot. He did a dribble penetration from the 3-point. Again, if he was a center today doing that, we would be like, that's amazing. That wasn't when centers didn't do that in the 1990s. Like, he did that. And, as much as I was obviously disappointed that we lost that game, I was like, I mean, Pat, he did all he ain't leave nothing for chance. Sometimes you just don't win. Sometimes you just don't win, right? And that, to me, I think, is the lesson of sports. Is like you did all the push-ups and you worked out as hard as you could. I think you can find the clip where Charles Barkley talks about talking to his daughter about when they lose whatever game it was. Not game 6, I think it was a game close to the last game in that Bulls series against Jordan. And when he was, was MVP that season, he was like, I played as hard as I could. I did everything I could. It wasn't enough. Right. And there's no, to me, I think the joy of sport or for us really understand the sport is like respecting that. And like, dudes, and sometimes it's man, you should have just dribbled around the court for like 5 more seconds and then got fouled, fam. Like, you shouldn't have tried to put that shot up. But what you gonna do? Like, as you say, I've seen some players who were former professional players, and whatever my knowledge and judgment may be, I've seen them take a shot and go, man, still taking bad shots. You know what I'm saying? You hear the rec gym, still, why you take that? That's not a good shot. Like, I don't gotta be better than you to know that's not a good shot. You could have got a better shot. The team could have got a better shot, but that's the shot you wanted, so you took it. That's life, baby. So go Knicks, Andre Blue Skies. You know what I'm saying? Everybody enjoy the magnitude of the joy. Go to the city. You know what I'm saying? Don't ask nobody for directions during rush hour. But like, you know what I'm saying? Go to the city and bask in the joy of the Knicks. And we'll see how long we can keep this thing going. If we can get a reappearance to the Eastern Conference Finals, that would be a great bookend to I think it might be tough to back it. Just given the conditions of it, it's hard to win anyway. No one's done it for almost 10 years, so I'm just enjoy the ride, and we'll let the future be the future. And then yeah, what I'm saying, FIFA.
FIFA.
So so the World Cup kicked off since the last time we recorded. The US has won 2 matches, which is, I don't know if I mean, I don't know what I never have really low expectations for the US men's team. I know like this is supposed to be one of the best generations this last couple of years, decade or so. And they've continually not necessarily come up, but they've actually won 2 matches. And the world seeing the teams. I think Costa Rica lost today to Germany, but they won their first match.
Ivory Coast, Cote
d'Ivoire. Ivory Coast, not yeah. Pardon me. But I say Costa Rica? My bad. My bad, Costa Rica. So I put the letters in my mind were the right letters, but they were not in the right place.
Colonialism does that. Costa Rica, Cote d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast, the Rich Coast, you know what I mean? Because people can't touch shit. So that's fair.
I mean, among the things that makes the World Cup so interesting, I mean, I think for the U.S., it being in our time zone, so to speak, this year for the first time in a while, I think for some people has made more people maybe watch the matches than when they was, like Qatar. I think, they were coming on at all kinds of wild times, even in the best of efforts. People were concerned, or the confluence of these different places, the Europeans and other people from around the world who don't realize how big the United States is, and all the things that are inside of the United States beyond whatever they know, finding out maybe there's not a train to get where you're going. Also, like, wow, that's 10 hours, like 10 hours. You could drive 10 hours from a place to another place. Bucky's, various gigantic roadside food attractions,
ranch dressing.
But I think for a lot of folks seeing the actual teams, and I even had a moment where it looked, and it's like, man, these teams are real. How do you say this in an elegant fashion? There's a lot of color. There's a lot of brown. There's a lot of there's a lot of mixes. There's some like, wait, is that like Senegal and France? There's a bit of the like, I mean, that's been a run joke with France, and what's the name is just like how many are other players are, players from the various diasporas that have been in contact with the French, reality, but then also some of those teams and the players could have played for this country, but they played here. I think I have to say I was surprised by Switzerland. I didn't see Switzerland coming in with that many folks from various diasporas in the mix. Teams of all sorts being competitive. Was it Cape Verde tying with Spain, right?
That's
like
crazy.
Nobody saw that coming, and it's
even tonight Curacao just
right.
like 0-0 with Paraguay. So like Uruguay, pardon me, not Europe, Paraguay, Uruguay.
Yeah. So or Ecuador. I thought it was Ecuador.
Ecuador, pardon me, yeah.
But anyway, I mean, I should pass the mic to you here because you just were in the midst of some of the activity coming back from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
What's some of your thoughts on this World Cup at the moment in the FIFA?
Well, again, to your point, I think there's some context for how does the United States start to interact globally? Because I think the United States gets a global context that's makes sense for us. Like people come here and they exist here, and then we eat the food and we know nothing about them, and it's fine, right? And I think we're all okay with that. Like they go somewhere else, they live somewhere else, we eat the food, and we call that being international. This is forcing America to be like, oh wow, Uruguay and Paraguay is here, and Ecuador. Like, when's the last time you said those 3 names together if you didn't work for the State Department? Right, like,
or you weren't a geography teacher or a social studies.
Yeah, you're not a geography teacher or you work for the State Department. You never say those three names, those 3 countries at the same time. So like, and the other part of it is one that FIFA is, shout out, all respect all of the Catholics. Before I say this, But like the only powerful thing I've seen function like FIFA is like the Vatican.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like its own thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
FIFA comes into your country, tells you that you have names on your stadiums that people gave money for, but you can't use the names.
Yeah,
because they got people that they paid. The people that paid them to use to be the the folks who are the official thing of this. So it's Philadelphia Stadium. Like what? It's not Lincoln Financial Field.
New Jersey Stadium, which
it's the New York, New Jersey Stadium.
Right.
It's like playing a video game. We were kids when they couldn't get the rights.
They didn't get the licenses.
They couldn't get the licenses.
Washington team. Washington team versus Los Angeles team.
Yeah, like what are you talking about? It like we're here and you're calling it the Philadelphia Stadium, Boston Stadium. What you know what I mean? Like in this level of like FIFA just comes in and just makes everything a blank slate except for what they paid for. Mm-hmm. And the ability to do that in a country, like I was another conversation I had with my pop, like, in America, because he was complaining how, like, in Philly in particular, they have the FIFA Fan Fest. So it's like every day. So it's the only city that has a everyday fan fest for the entire duration of.
All right, because the final is in New York. MetLife? Is it MetLife?
Yep.
Yeah,
it's in New York, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
On July 19th.
Right.
But like Philadelphia has a festival and a party every day on Lemon Hill, where we use at family dates. But every day there's a party. So of course now you can imagine people and folks who live right by there, even though it's been gentrified, and we have a conversation about that in Brewery Town and such, Fairmount. You pay a lot of money for your crib for mugs to tell you can't park by your house.
Yeah.
Right. But then I was saying to him, this is FIFA, dog. Like, no one cares about that. Like, they actually have the tournament in places that people don't allow people to rebel about stuff. Like, you did it in Qatar. You did it in Russia. There's a reason you do shit in places where motherfuckers just make decisions.
Yeah, look, this is happening.
So, on America, where we're like this, like, you get to debate with your mayor, can you have parking in front of your house? Like... And we all are used to that. We all are used to our purchasing of something gives us a right that other people don't have. It's kind of implicit in the American model of ownership, but especially home ownership. And then FIFA comes in and they're like, we can't park in front of your house. No, not while FIFA's here. Like, this is bigger than Standard Oil. This is bigger than U.S. Steel is in the Godfather. Like. So that was very interesting. So we were in New York the week before for the show Improve, and you saw the teams coming in for in New York, and just everybody taking over. I'm sure if everyone listening, they've heard about the Scots taking over Boston, and Boston running out of beer,
which is wild.
They drink so much beer, running out of beer, and they just party everywhere with everybody. And they you be regular clubs, black folks be in. Next thing you know, the Scots is in there drinking all the beer up, hanging out. So is stuff that Americans haven't seen, or like what happened yesterday in Philadelphia, like literally Brazil, and this is not hyperbole, took over Philadelphia yesterday. Like took over, like thousands of Brazilian fans, and not an insignificant amount of Haitian fans. So just to be clear, because I don't want to, I think sometimes that gets lost in this equation because of our unique politics around Brazil. However, and I know this is for another time, the reality of it is the country with the largest black population outside of Africa is Brazil. Mm-hmm. And the first black republic is Haiti. And taking place on a day that's not necessarily connected to it, Juneteenth. But in a city that had a relationship both to the Haitians, and there's a whole litany of history about Philadelphia and people from Philadelphia actually sending, going down to fight in the Haitian Revolution.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. As well as there being churches to this day in Haiti that don't speak French. They sing gospel in English because it came from Philadelphia. So it was a really fascinating kind of thing to watch. And I think to your point, I'll stop here. We're having different conversations about the African diaspora in ways in America that's coming through sports that we have not had in a political context since the fall of apartheid.
Yeah.
Because now you're just seeing Ghanaians. Now you're seeing folks from Cote d'Ivoire. Now you're seeing, folks from Senegal. And it's like, it's all these things in the politics of sports are now in everyone's faces in ways that we are not used to. And so I think it's great for America and everybody to have the education for what's occurring in a way that I think we didn't, if it wasn't via sports, I don't know if we'd be having this conversation.
Yeah, I think it, and I'll just a footnote to add to the Brazil and Haiti. These, being from where I grew up in Willingboro, where I grew up with a significant Haitian community, there's also a significant Brazilian community over in Riverside and Palmyra now over there and in Saugan, like to the degree like restaurants, like the whole bit over the last 20, 30 years. That you have these type of events, sports as a place, and even why within the within the American project, the segregation era of not allowing folks to compete is like you can't escape what you're like experiencing when it's happening in sport, like in sports. So if even if cognitively you're selling the idea that there's one race is more superior to the other, and then everybody's playing the game together, and however it shakes out, the team that wins because they're better. And you can't like, I mean, like you can't psychologically, you could try to talk yourself out of it, what you see it happening, right? So like people seeing the team like Ecuador and being like, wait a minute, like they look awful. Like if the names weren't the names that's on the jerseys, and you told me they was from somewhere else, you told me they was from West Philly, I might believe you, right? Like if you told me they was from Houston or like, I'm saying, or whatever, like the we was watching the the Uzbekistan and what's their game, and Uzbekistan, and for those that don't know, folks from the Uzbekistan, Dagestan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, there was a lot of mix of Turkish groups. What do you I forget the other, but phenotypical expression can be a pantheon of tones and shapes, shades of somewhere you say that person looks Korean or Mongolian or Chinese to
right,
someone that looks, maybe what we would, again, what we would characterize as like Middle Eastern, or these framings that we use, right? So then you look and you're like, wait a minute, what? Who? Where are these people from? And then again, they're all on the same team, wherever the Uzbekistan is, right? So if you don't know where that is on the map, between the Caspian Sea and the other thing, in the mountains, and like you have to, your mind can't escape that. Like there's all these other different ways that people look in the world, shape different where they're from, languages that are on their jerseys. Cognitively, a part of your mind has to like try to sort out, especially if you've not seen the world, right? Like if you've not looked at, you never looked through the world book, if you as a kid, if you had a world book and you paging through, and it's like people look all these different ways and from these different in the languages, and it's not a problem. It's just a moment to go, like, even like the Scots, so they coming through, they got the kilts on, you know what I'm saying? They stomping through the joint, they playing music, they got right things that in America, how you say the way the white thing has worked, you don't bring that stuff up outside of like saying like, yeah, my folks were Scotch, whatever, Scotch Irish, and they were
Scotch
mountain
Irish,
mountain people, or went over the thing in West Virginia, blah blah blah, or in the Ozarks, not the Ozarks, but more Appalachia, right?
Appalachia. Yeah.
But it's not like they don't pull a kilt out the closet and be like, yeah, this was my great grandfather's kilt. We've kept it all these years, right? Not that we're against that. I would love you to go ahead and find that kilt. You know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and dive into that. Let's break into those cultural histories. You know what I'm saying? Even you brought up the like Norway, like my man, what's my man, the big dude? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Holland, yeah.
Yeah, man, he look like he's straight out the Highlander. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's about to go down out here. He can only be
Oh
one.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, so then the diversity and the dynamics of actually how like different ways people show up, language, relationships. These guys, some of these guys know each other from their pro leagues where they
Absolutely.
play, right? So then there's like, we've been watching on the Telemundo Fubo because it's cheaper, right? So I don't know what they say in this match. I'm working on it, but it sounds much more fun than when I hear the other broadcast with what's my man name?
The Premier League, yeah.
Yeah, because they always sort of sometimes taking it, bringing it down, like, this is they seem to me they feel a little more negative about what's happening on the field.
Oh, it's
where the other
very
one
English.
they seem much more positive. They're like, hey, like the energy is like, yes.
My man's very British of how he explains the game.
It's like very dour. It's like, that side, we'd expect a better showing from them. I'm like, I don't expect nothing. I just want to see some good. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to expect. I don't know these people, right? So like this is it's a FIFA to have control of this amazing sort of product that's like, yeah, it's like the whole world, and then like the subtext of this all of the at least the whole time I've been watching since the '90s is like, yeah, everybody else is eventually gonna beat all you giant superpowers. Like, like that's a part of what we're doing here, right? Like whether we like it or not. Like there is a bit of like even the aspect of how well the African continent teams are doing this round, this first round where like this history's been well, the African team it's good, blah 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 blah, and it's like Morocco made it to the Final Four. Then Morocco went to a draw with Brazil to start this out, right? Like Ivory Coast winning their first one, and Ghana winning. Was it Ghana winning like right at the end?
Ghana, they won. Like, they beat Panama.
Panama, like I don't know how people rank Panama, but just still there's all of this other subtext that's like our global stuff that's behind it, and the joy of like let's get to know each other by having friendly competition, but then let's have a drink together afterwards. Like not like don't really want to fight. We just want to have a great match.
Hey, can I say how football, soccer / football, and every other place is like the sport of the people. Where in America, but how we have the construct of it, it's you got money, and you got to have money to execute it and do it well versus a football or a basketball, which reasonably, if in baseball, I will put it the same thing as soccer. Like when you look at wrestling globally, you can just it's a bat and a ball and someone catching something, right? Like it's kind of the simplest thing in the world, right? In America, it's man, we got to field a whole team. Is it softball or baseball? Is it t-ball? Who's playing, right? Like we got a travel team. Like in other countries, it's like, man, people playing on concrete, right? Like there's this huge tournament, street soccer tournament in Paris where like African teams get their own uniforms to play on concrete. The shit's crazy. You know what I mean? But so like when we think about it, and so how from a global perspective and how global migration and global superstars get motivated to go to other countries because of players usually leaving their country as refugees. Let's be clear. People leaving their country as refugees to go to York to play, to go places in Asia sometime to play. And even Balogun, the guy who did a lot in the first match, he was born in Brooklyn. He was there for like 6.5 hours. And then his family went to London. Like literally he was there for 6.5 hours. And then like they went to London, grew up in London. Dad is French. No, dad is Nigerian. Mom is Algerian and French. So he could have played for any of those teams. He could have played for America because he was born here, Nigeria, Algeria, or France, or Britain. And he's to play for America. So we got the ringer. We got the guy in
USA.
As John Amos would say, it's America, Jack. So we got the guy from sales. That's the ringer. That's doing his thing. Right on. And I'll stop here. I think it's important, just again, for a broader vision, the role of MLS soccer. Because now American players can actually play in a pro league. Because, just for everyone's context, when you play in the Premier League and you're like, oh, look at the Premier League and all these people. Well, there are 5 leagues underneath the Premier League. Like, there's 5 different leagues that you have to go through, or you can get relegated from the Premier League. So just because you're really good in soccer, it could mean you end up in Wrexham, which is like at the 3rd level, right? Like, as much as we hear about Wrexham, they're underneath the Champions League, which is underneath the Premier League, right? So MLS gives people exposure. It also gives people a chance to actually play in a professional context. So I think the American team, I think people said it in different ways. The day that LeBron James wakes up and says he does not want to play football, then whoever LeBron James is in the future says he doesn't want to play basketball or football and he wants to play tennis or soccer, everything changes. Right? Like, the day those players see the pathway to success as equal as the ones that we have already tried, global sport, because American sports will change at that moment. Because, I mean, it's no accident we see Victor Wembanyama. He would have been good on the soccer match. He would have been good on the pitch. But it's like, at some point, they convinced all these guys from France that, like, they should play basketball. So now they're the second best team in the world besides USA, as you would say. So,
and I just say that if anyone remembers, I mean, shout out to the Sudanese team, and the people of Sudan and South Sudan, but the South Sudan team, they cover for y'all. They cover for everything. They basketball in Africa is a big deal. Angola, Nigeria, Cameroon, Rwanda. There's like real investment in like developing the sport there, and that means eventually, vis-a-vis, there's gonna be some more. There was a time when the Eastern European, the Lithuanians was always cold, and they still coming cold from
Petrovic, Tony
yeah, but
Kukoc, yeah.
yeah, like it was different pockets in Europe at different times. Was like when we was young, that was like, oh man, they really take it serious over there. And Russia used to just be stealing everybody from all of them former independent countries and making them part of Team Russia, which was again global politics. The 80s, the 76, was it 76? You at
80.
Olympics 80
Yeah.
when the Russians but what was the one where there was the how you say, the flammery, what I'm saying, which led to us not, but anyway, it'll come back to me. But the important part is
It's 80, yeah.
The Cold War, there was a stated value on the US and Russia who won, in various sports. So like it's I guess I think it wouldn't be really that that thing to talk about with FIFA is like, I mean, and we had intended, we had family conversation about like trying to catch some matches. It just was so expensive. It was like, yeah, we go ahead and watch these games on the TV. Like we I can't justify this spending.
Well, it's America. Because in Portugal, Morocco, and Spain, that's where the next World Cup is going to be. They are prohibiting costs being over a certain number because they know this is a sport of community. Soccer in this country is treated like a rich person sport. So they've done to us what people would do because, okay, y'all like to pay a lot of money. Y'all got Super Bowls and shit. Y'all got NBA finals where y'all, again, where you fall in love with Billy Crystal sitting there, we're cheering on the Knicks, not realize he just paid $100,000 for this ticket. Like,
I think Spike admitted like he's spent like $10 million over these decades on Knicks tickets, like being where he's at, which is, I mean, love to Spike that he put it together.
It's probably made him as much money.
Oh yeah. No.
Over time, right?
Over time, yeah.
But yeah, so I think the idea of politics and sports and politics, for folks to not divorce themselves from the, enjoying it, but acknowledging, like, why is it so expensive? And again, if you're in cities that people are going and not going to the game, Like some people just coming to the city.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
just
not
being in
going
the
to
city because they
just
can't.
being there, being at the party events, and
But they can't afford it, right? And so I just think we need to think about that and make sure that we're giving people pathways to see all aspects of sports. Not just the ones that we have been able to appropriately commodify in America, which has been the ones that we have. So
yeah, so get out there, see some matches, enjoy it. I mean, the game is beautiful, just for the record too. Like if it like I know sometimes some of us don't, if we not really have not watched the sport, and I think it's people who have participated in athletics and enjoy sport, you can like start to get into it. But I know for some people it can still be sort of like, oh, I still don't really know how this works, and like it's a beautiful game, and it's fun to start even look at the different styles. Like the teams that are super aggressive, and some teams that are very not aggressive at all. Like that thing is like, we just going to not try to give up any points, or we're going to try to get 1 point, and then we're going to defend like hell for the rest of the game.
Listen, and that's how South Korea played last night. South was like, yeah, we're just trying not to lose here, Jack. Yeah. And I mean, they played a really good match. You're trying not to lose. Like, I appreciated them just being like, yeah, we ain't trying to lose in this goal differential.
Yeah, so we just gonna keep this thing tight. We're gonna be in here. So again, to the victors, I mean, much love and joy. I mean, watch the games, and again, it's been a wild ride, a fantastic journey, a joyous season, as I say here, and as the Knicks, are the reigning NBA champs. We got at least till like, this time next year. That's how you got to say it.
You just said that shit again, man.
That's right, baby. We out here, man. You know what I'm saying? Look at the charm, man. I had this for a couple years. I got this when I was in New Orleans, and I was in one of the shots. It's like, I bet you they got NFL team beads. Bang, here we are. You know what I'm saying? We're ready. We was ready. You know what I'm saying? Just in case you didn't think it was like, oh, Justice just started. Nah, man. This is a joyous season. You know what I'm saying? As I said to all the people I gave wild random daps, you know what I'm saying? I was out and about because they were like, Knicks. And then like people who see I wear my Knicks shirt, they're like, go Knicks. You know what I'm saying? America's team. We're coming. We're gonna make this happen. We're gonna make this happen. It's the best thing that can happen to all of us, man. We're gonna make this happen. But y'all gotta believe, y'all gotta commit, you gotta let your mind accept that this could be our reality. You know what I'm saying? Shout out though to the other teams, for playing hard. Both teams, played hard and competitive and all that stuff. And we'll see how the World Cup shakes out. We'll obviously get an opportunity to add on about that as that gonna progress over the rest of the summer. So word up. So with that, anything for good order before we let them go?
The order is good.
All right. So with that, I'm gonna say peace.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Good Brothers. Thank you to my good brother, I'm Majestic. Good Brothers is a part of the Ask Your Oldhead feed, and it is supported by you listening, subscribing, rating, sharing, looking up Justice Rajee on Patreon, becoming a patron by heading to AskYourOldhead.com and buying a t-shirt or an item in the shop, of course. And generally by just, listening and sharing these conversations where you can via audio. You can also watch the video version of this on the Patreon. And you can see some clips here and there, but ultimately, the Knicks are the world champions, America's team. And we just appreciate you for sticking around and listening to what we have to say. Feel free to email us at askyouroldhead@gmail.com, or maybe send a message via one of the social media pages. But in any event, thank you for your support. Peace.